Hello, my name is Audrey. I met a guy once and fell in love with him, but he betrayed me and leaked my intimate photos online. Everyone started laughing at me. And because of this fame, I was almost expelled from the university. In the meantime, subscribe and watch other animations. After all, there are still many interesting stories on this channel. My first year at university was memorable because of my unfortunate love story. His name was Peter, and he was 2 years older than me. As you can imagine, dating a guy 2 years older than you and even a handsome nobleman was a direct path to fame. This was a priority for the first-year students. We didn't know much about the rules and regulations and life outside of school, and we had to learn. On my first day of school, I met Annie, a country girl with a big mind. We became friends immediately and went out together every day. I had boyfriends at school, but I hadn't really thought about a serious relationship until I met Peter. He won with his beauty and eloquence. I didn't think that he would pay any attention to me because, unlike him, I was a modest girl. One day after school, Annie and I decided to study in the library. We had to conduct a scientific experiment, which resulted in the winner being offered an internship in the cool company of Mr. Cole. By the way, it was a local businessman that owns a company that produces chemicals. On their basis, more often made fertilizer for the soil. As you can imagine, getting Mr. Cole to work was like winning a ticket to a brighter future. He selected the smartest. All courses of the faculty were allowed to participate, so my friend and I also signed up. In the library, we ran into Peter and his group. I was surprised. I didn't think he knew anything about chemistry. Peter kept looking in my direction, which was embarrassing. Once he even smiled. "Wow, the prettiest boy in the department likes you," Annie said. I denied it. It can't be. After all, he recently broke up with his girlfriend, and she at times uses more makeup than I do. We have different wardrobe, as well as the level of intelligence. In the latter, by the way, I lead. But in some ways, Annie was right. He was clearly paying attention to me. The gaze game lasted for a couple of weeks, and I was still shy of it and kept my head down on the floor as I passed. And once, Annie got sick, and I didn't waste time and went to the library without her. I was busy collecting information and didn't notice how the street was getting dark. I quickly gathered my things and was about to leave when Pete came up to me. He was alone and asked where my friend was and what new things I had found in the textbooks for the experiment. To tell you the truth, I was taken aback when he came up to me and started talking to me. But communication was easy, and then Pete volunteered to walk me home. All the way, we chatted about me and him, about school and teachers. I was interested in getting to know him. The next day, when Pete met me in the hallway, he nodded. Anne was in shock, immediately pounced with questions about what she missed in one day. I strongly denied my attraction and Peter's interest because I still couldn't believe that he liked me. After school, he came up to me again and asked me to study with us in the library. I agreed. Anne pretended to be ill and left, so we were alone. And this is how our regular communication began. Day after day, we spent more and more time together among the books. Then Pete told me that his friends refused to participate in this difficult project, and I invited him to join our team. Anne didn't mind. From that moment on, we began to communicate even more closely. Unbeknownst to me, I began to realize that I could not spend a day without him. Feelings grew, but I only hoped it was mutual. On the same day, my hopes were answered. Pete invited me to dinner after class. I gladly agreed. I don't remember ever being so happy. He kissed me that night. I wanted to take off. Now the most popular boy is mine. In a couple of weeks, that contest was supposed to take place, and we tried our best to win it. Our top 3 by the end has become one of the leading. We didn't win, but we took 3rd place, and Mr. Cole suggested that we finalize our project and present it to him in a separate order. Oh, there was no limit to happiness. Pete, Anne, and I celebrated our victory that day. Yes, we were proud of ourselves. In a fit of emotion, Pete and I spent the night together. In the morning, he took the phone and started taking pictures of me. I was shy, and he said that he wanted to remember this moment. It was more than nice. Then we fell asleep. I stared at Peter's face for a long time, studying every line of expression. I also wanted to remember everything, every emotion he had, and keep it in my head. I never thought that such a moment would come in my boring life. But as they say, working together brings us closer. Suddenly, for a second, I imagined that soon we would appear in society together. He would introduce me to friends, and my heart began to beat. It was very exciting. I think I'm falling in love. In the morning, Pete walked me home, and I went to get some sleep. I didn't wake up until late in the afternoon. My phone was bursting with missed calls. It was Anne. As soon as I called her back, she screamed into the phone, "Why aren't you answering? Where are you? Why are you silent? Immediately go to the messenger," she rattled. I connected to the internet and immediately received dozens of messages on my phone. I couldn't believe my eyes. My intimate photos were posted online. No, he couldn't do that, I said, barely moving my lips. Eyes filled with tears and hands trembled. I barely dialed his number. As soon as he answered, I was so hysterical that I couldn't even pronounce the words properly. And he just said that, thanks to my naivete, he won the project and the argument with his friends. How could you? You betrayed me! But Pete said he would never have met me if it wasn't for an argument with friends. I dropped the phone from my hand, so in an instant, I was a laughingstock. The next day, the rector called me into his office. He, of course, was also aware of what was happening. Since I was already 18 years old, he did not call the police without my consent, but since I undermined the solid authority of the university, he wanted to expel me. I begged. I asked them to punish me differently, but not to exclude me. In general, if a project that was in the top 3, Peter and I would have been kicked out long ago. And in this case, we were given a punishment in the form of cleaning the faculty offices. Since then, I've made a vow never to let them take pictures of me or send them to guys again. As children, we were taught that good always wins over evil, that we must fight for the right cause. What if sometimes it costs us too much? One day I was stuck in an elevator and I heard 2 men talking. I witnessed a crime and it almost cost me my life. These 2 were trying to pull off a very mean business, and I was trying to fight with injustice. So our forces were unequal, and I lost. However, now I dream of taking revenge. My name is April, and I work as a journalist for one of the local newspapers in my province. I dreamed of my profession from an early age, having watched a lot of gorgeous films about journalists. This is not surprising. A journalist is a civilian, but at the same time, he has the right to be in many places without free. In addition, this job gives you great trips, meeting a lot of people, excitement, interest, and adrenaline. Today you are meeting with the president as a reporter, and tomorrow you will see the results of the autopsy at the morgue. My parents have always supported me. My mother once gave me a dictaphone. Ever since then, I imagined that I would become like Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, a brave journalist. I was the editor-in-chief of a newspaper in high school and in college, too. And then I swung for a job at a major newspaper, The Times. After I sent them my resume, they invited me for an interview. I was really worried because my dream was about to come true. On Friday at 1800, I was expected on the 9th floor in the office. After carefully selecting my clothes, perfume, and hairstyle, I put the finishing touch. I grabbed the recorder and went. It was my good luck charm. Arriving at the place, a chic high-rise building opened up in front of me. A friendly doorman opened the door and my Louboutins touched the expensive tile. I exhaled and pressed the elevator button, went inside, and watched as I gradually approached the desired floor. Suddenly, the elevator stopped and the lights went out. I almost lost my balance, but managed to grab the door. Damn! Stuck on the 7th floor. So, don't panic, I thought. I took out my phone, but I didn't catch the connection. I switched on my flashlight and felt for the elevator button. The lights seemed to have gone out all over the building. "Hey, can anyone hear me? I'm stuck in the elevator!" shouted me. The voice felt a touch of confusion, but my mind was still taken up. Yes, of course, we will definitely deliver the product on time. And rest assured, Mr. Sanders, you will get your 10%. This is a profitable and not dusty business. As soon as we ship fake cancer drugs to third countries, they will be bought up in bundles for a low price. And cancer patients would still not be cured by any medications. We will assume that we sell them not effective treatment cheaper than many others. All you have to do is make connections with people we need, said a voice. Then the lights came on, the elevator started, and the doors opened. And I saw a man and the editor of the Times. Damn it, I thought, quickly hiding my voice recorder. These two stared at me for a moment, then shouted, "Hold her! She has a voice recorder!" They rushed in my direction, and I managed to push the button and close the door. I couldn't believe it. The editor-in-chief of a popular newspaper had colluded with some man and was going to participate in the sale of fake drugs for cancer patients. How does that mean? I arrived on the first floor and calmly got out of the elevator, though the Louboutins were already in my purse. "Miss, I'm sorry," the guard shouted, and behind them ran the two men. At that moment, I ran out of the building, hailed the first taxi, and told them to hurry. I knew I couldn't go home, and it was also clear that they already knew my name and who I was. My voice recorder was a lifesaver, or rather, a recording of their conversation. I was more than shocked. That day, I had to get a motel room to stay the night. That night, I called my old friend Nick at the FBI, told him about the situation, and he promised to help. He immediately came to me and calmed me down. He said he wouldn't let anyone hurt me. We have long known that fake drugs for cancer patients are exported from the country in batches. This business has been thriving for a year. We also know that there are serious people behind this, but I would not have thought that this is a journalist and director of a network of hospices for cancer patients. That's a foul, said my friend Nick. My voice recorder was the most valuable piece of evidence of a large-scale crime. This is a journalist's dream. But the fear was still there. If it wasn't for Nick, I don't know how I would have handled it. "Pizza delivery," someone said outside the door. I looked at Nick and asked if he ordered food. He just shook his head and shouted, "Get down!" At this moment, bullets were whistling in my room, and in a couple of minutes, the walls turned into a colander. Then the stream stopped, and two masked men burst in. Nick went into a fight. I knocked the last one out with a blow to the head with a table lamp. We ran out into the street, stole someone's motorcycle, and rushed to find a safe place. I realized that life would never be the same again. We were planning to turn the recording over to Nick's boss at the FBI center. That would solve the crime in no time. As I cut through the city's night streets with my hair in a disarray, I realized I'd left my shoes in that damn motel. It was decided to meet the chief tomorrow morning. But in the meantime, we spent the night at his friend's house. The next day when we arrived at the center, Nick and I went up to the right floor. He took a dictaphone and said he would be the one to talk to his superiors. I agreed willingly. We went into the office and Nick told us all the details, then handed over the recorder. His boss stood up and applauded me for my civic initiative. He wanted to come up to me and shake my hand, but he tripped over something. And damn it, if I were 3 times blind, I'd always know my Louboutins. I rushed to the door, but at that moment, Nick hit me on the head and I lost consciousness. This is called a conspiracy of big men, and in this, all the others are pawns. In general, about a year has passed since then. I was falsified the case and put in jail for allegedly fraud. And you know what? I still won't give up. Even though I'm behind bars, I'll be switching places with them soon enough. And the first thing I'll do is get out and work as a journalist.